Hey everyone, welcome to the Freedom from Anxiety workshop. We have a super great workshop tonight. I'm really excited to share with you. And so I'm going to turn to present mode so you can see what's going on. I'm going to have to share my screen. Pardon me while I get my tech managed. Where's everybody joining from tonight? Do you want to share your city in the comments? Share screen. There we go. Freedom from anxiety. Okay, and we will now hit present mode that you can see. Okay, can you guys see those slides? I'm going to assume you can. Let me know if you can't. All right, so this workshop, let's just check and see if you are in the right place. If you are trying to manage stress from trying to find this elusive balance of like work, life, family commitments. And if you are feeling overwhelmed by your own worries and your anxious thoughts, if you would like more confidence to have some calm and clarity in your day-to-day life, and if you are willing to just like let go of some shit that's been holding you back and hop into the driver's seat of your life, this is designed for you. So this workshop, as it is titled, is about breaking free from anxiety, but I want more than that for you. And we have some bigger goals here today. I think when we break free from anxiety, what happens is we are able to share the light, take off the mask and let your whole self shine and see what's really inside of you. And this is, in my opinion, the best part of my job is getting to see what is behind folks' anxiety. And that is why I do what I do and why we are all here today. And this is what I want for you. So, does this sound like you? And let me know in the comments which one of these you resonate with most. Are you always overwhelmed, even when you're making like little tiny decisions? Do you worry about mistakes? Do you find yourself like ruminating, obsessing over things that you've made in the past, or constantly freaking out about what might be happening in the future? Are you having difficulty sleeping at night because your mind just does not turn off? Do you find yourself avoiding social situations because you're not sure what to say or do? I don't have this one, but I know it's really common. Do you have trouble focusing at work, feeling anxious, or feeling like you're just not performing your best, like your best self isn't who's in the room? Or are you missing out on time with your partner, kids, and friends because you feel like you're not really present? Let me know which one sort of matches where you're at today. If you feel like you've lost yourself and you're sort of like wondering, will I ever feel like myself again? I want you to take a minute to imagine if you didn't have anxiety, if you were able to move throughout your day without these like invasive, worrying thoughts like, oh my God, my kids are okay. Or every time a meeting comes up from your boss, it's like, oh shit, are they going to fire me? Like, what would it be like to not be responding to your world like that? What would it feel like to be confident when you were tackling your work projects, giving a presentation, being like, I know this is great, and not second guessing yourself of like, how is everybody going to take this? And in your personal life, and to really feel like you're being your authentic self in all of your relationships, feeling like your kids and your partner are getting the best of you, and that your friends get a chance to actually meet and hang out with the person that you know you are on the inside. So if we haven't met, I'm Dr. Katie. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I take care of patients here in Guelph and all across Ontario in my virtual practice. I'm the founder of the Tranquil Minds Method, and I've helped hundreds of patients recover from their anxiety. I'm also an author, I'm a mom, and I'm an Enneagram 9, which is the peacekeeper. And today I have
Hi, I'm Tara. I am a fourth-year naturopathic intern. I'm in my last semester of school. I am the co-founder of All About Mental Empowerment, which is a company that provides holistic, action-based mental health workshops and courses in schools. And I'm a dog mom to my 5-year-old cute little dog, Athena.
Athena. Tara, as part of her internship, is joining us at Tranquil Minds this semester, and we're so lucky to have you in general, but especially with us today.
Oh, well, I'm happy to be here.
So there are 3 things that you need to focus on for this workshop to actually make a difference in your life. Like, hands up if you've been to a course and then done nothing after you went to it.
Yep.
I've definitely had that experience. And so if you want this to make a difference, one of the main things is you actually have to want to get better. If you are okay with your current level of anxiety and you're good just like coasting status quo, this probably isn't going to make a difference for you. Second piece, you need to believe in your ability to do this. You have to believe that it's possible to get better from anxiety and to have better mental health than you have right now. I'm going to say you don't need to have like a lot of belief in that. I will hold a lot of belief for you, but you need like a smidgen. And so if you think that there's no possible way that you're ever going to not be anxious, this isn't going to help. But if you think there is like a way that you could not be anxious, you just don't know what it is. Like, I need to hold on to that like tiny little belief in yourself, and we'll see how like much we can grow it. The last thing that you need is a clear plan. And that's what we're going to cover today.
So when we're talking about anxiety, there's the other side of the coin that we really want to highlight, and that it's that your anxiety is actually a superpower. So what do we mean by this? Well, as you might know, there's lots of hidden strengths that actually come with anxiety. You've probably experienced a lot of these. You might know that you're also really creative and empathetic. Maybe you're really detail-oriented as well, or a master of manifesting. This is the other side of the coin that a lot of people with anxiety actually experience, all these hidden strengths.
And so when we can focus on what gifts are inside of an experience of anxiety, or what comes on the other side of people who experience anxiety, we can start to soften that relationship with anxiety away from something that's like, oh my God, get this away from me. I never, ever want to experience a moment of anxiety ever again. And more of a way of, what is this teaching me? And how can I relate to my anxiety differently? And one of the key pieces to moving into that relationship with anxiety is practicing radical self-care. And I use the word radical here because I want to get away from this idea that of self-help, self-care, that if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you just need to go for a walk. You just need to wash your face and everything will be fine. I think we've all had enough of that. So I want to talk about what makes self-care actually radical. So true self-care makes you feel better, not worse. And I know you're like, Katie, this is a dumb sentence. Of course, self-care makes you feel better. But how many times have you done something or tried to make yourself do something, build a habit that like didn't even really spark any joy for you, that didn't make you feel better? Have you had that?
Yes.
Too, or just like slogging through being like, I'm going to be a new person. I'm going to take care of myself in, I don't know, this way that I've never done before and don't really enjoy doing. That doesn't typically, that's not the type of self-care we're talking about right now. You want to spend time doing things that lift you up instead of things that bring you down. Is it like good practice to like, I don't, whatever, I'm thinking about dishes right now, where it's like, for me, can't you tell me how many times I tried in the past to be like, dishes are going to be my self-care activity. I'm going to like buy myself really nice grapefruit scented soap, and I'm going to like have this, but like, no, I still hate doing the dishes. And like, yeah, the grapefruit scented soap like makes it a better experience. And like, I'm totally pro like making your chores more enjoyable, but it doesn't count as self-care. You don't need to follow the crowd, but you need to do what you are passionate about. If everybody is doing yoga, and like, if you start me talking about my own self-care, I'll talk about how yoga in times of my life has been really helpful, but you don't have to do yoga. You need to do what's good for you. Just because everybody is doing yoga doesn't mean that that's the right self-care for you. And the last piece for the self-care is really that you are worth the effort. This really only works when we're able to put ourselves on our to-do list and elevate our own needs to the same level that we hold the needs of others in our family, in our work, and in our community. So I want to tell you about Alex. Now, I will disclaimer, this is not Alex's name. This is, in fact, not just Alex's story. Alex is an example of a few people who have had this experience. And Alex started working with me. They were very anxious. Their relationship was on the rocks. They felt like they weren't taking care of themselves. They're completely exhausted. Work was not going well. And one of the things that we were working with Alex was how they could have more energy and less anxiety. So they didn't want that nervous energy. They wanted that like calm, focused energy. And when we were doing the pillars assessment, one place where we figured they could get more help with was their exercise, their physical activity. And Alex had tried going to the gym. They didn't really like that. And so we were brainstorming like, Alex, what do you love to do? And what Alex loved to do was dance. And so Alex signed up for Zumba classes. And once a week, she was taking this like time for herself to go and dance and move her body. And she was dancing other places too. She was like dancing in the kitchen as she was making dinner. Like whenever she could get in movement, she was getting in some dance. And that in combination with like some other naturopathic supports, guys, like we made sure she didn't have anemia. We put her on some appropriate herbs, but she started getting her energy back. Her anxiety came down. She found herself in a much better place at work. She felt way less anxious when she was there. She was reconnecting with her husband better. She ended up pregnant. Like that's the level of better reconnecting we got. And so I'm just sharing this with you because I don't think this would have happened if Alex had been like, but I really need to lift weights, right? It's because it lit her own fire. And that is what I want you to think about when you're thinking about how you're going to build your radical self-care plan, is like, what's going to spark it for me? The next thing, I'm going to just take a sip of water here. Well, we all look at the scary words. But the next thing about making changes to your anxiety is to do things that you are scared of. And I'm going to talk about how to make like hard things easier, but I think it's important to acknowledge that we all have hard things. And what happens if we avoid our hard things is our world gets like smaller and smaller and smaller. Have you seen that, Tara?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we want to create an environment where the things that seem hard, we're actually tackling so that we keep our world the same size. We keep able to do our activities that we are currently doing, and then maybe even like branching off and able to do new activities. And so we want to make doing these things that are hard easier. And this could be anything. For someone, going to school might be something that's hard. Going to work or going to the grocery store might be hard. For someone else, that might be going to the gym. So it doesn't matter why if someone could be brushing their teeth. It doesn't matter why it's hard for you to do it. What matters is that you're tackling these challenges. So some of the things that help are educating yourself about it. So let's say like getting on an airplane is hard for you. You might want to like learn a little bit about airplanes. Like, I just don't understand how they stay up in the air. Understanding how they stay up in the air might be a helpful first step. Education alone is not going to tackle the anxiety, right? So just knowing that you're like, okay, I get it, airplanes stay in the air. That's not going to do it. Breaking it into small, manageable steps. So what's a smaller step? Do you want to go to the airport and watch airplanes for a while? Do you want to like watch movies about airplanes? Thinking about making it smaller. And then really celebrating your success. If you hate hearing about how your friends and family were on an airplane, and then you sit, okay, when your friend goes on a trip, you're like, okay, we're going to go out for coffee. You're going to tell me how the whole thing went down. You're going to tell me the whole experience. And then you get to the end, you get to celebrate that. And you could celebrate that in whatever way makes sense for you. Whether that is just like patting yourself on the back, maybe that's buying yourself a fancy coffee because you did this hard thing, but really acknowledging that, hang on, I don't really like to hear about how someone's flight went, but I did. I listened to their whole story. And then you use that increased confidence to do like the next level hard. So that might go from like talking or hearing about it to like watching it, to actually like going on a short flight. And by that way, you're building yourself up. And I know I use the word flight because a lot of people don't like flying, but this could be it for literally anything, whether that is going to the dentist, whether that is going to school. I know it's really scary to think about doing some of these things that are like really outside of our comfort zones, but fear in the body is actually the same thing as excitement. And the main difference between moving from fear to excitement is our breath. When we are in, our heart rate's up, we're like got all that adrenaline going, we're ready for a new experience. What makes the difference between, oh my goodness, this is terrifying, and oh my goodness, this is exciting, is really whether we are in a state where we're breathing or we're in a state where we're contracting. And I know some of you are thinking like, Katie, this is all well and good, but can't I just pop a benzo? And I will say to that, of course you can. If you've been prescribed medication and that's how you want to do your scary thing, you are welcome to do that. But like, how is that actually working for you right now?
Because what we know is that medication does work really well for some people, but not for everybody. And, some of the reasons that medication might not be the whole answer to your anxiety is maybe you're one of those people who it just wasn't that magic pill for you. It didn't move you into that, no anxiety place enough. Maybe it just wasn't effective enough and you need some other tools and strategies on your side to get to that place. Maybe you didn't like how you feel on medication, which is totally valid. Or maybe there were just too many side effects and it was interfering with your quality of life.
Yeah. So if medication is the answer for you, great. If medication is part of the answer for you, excellent. If medication is not working for you, that is good too. We are here to support you wherever you are in that relationship. And the last thing that we want to talk about today is really around using this like secret weapon for managing anxiety. And I see this myth out there all the time. I heard it like just 2 weeks ago. Someone was like, there isn't really an anti-anxiety diet. And I was just like, that's not really that accurate. There's a lot of research that shows a modified Mediterranean diet improves mood, like all mood metrics, and also reduces anxiety. So that, in my opinion, is the anti-anxiety diet. It's a Mediterranean diet where there's been some modifications made to really manage the sugar load, the glycemic load of that diet. And so in addition to the research that's showing the Mediterranean diet, we know that high glycemic index foods, so foods that have a lot of sugar that your body turns to sugar quickly, that increases anxiety in healthy individuals. So people that don't have an anxiety disorder feel more anxious when they've eaten higher sugar foods. We also know that people who have anxiety are more likely to have difficulty managing their blood sugar levels. And so using this approach of managing anxiety through nutrition is a great complementary tool. It works for folks that are taking medications. It works for folks who can't take medications. It works for folks that are like really not eating very well or very often, or folks that have like a pretty awesome diet. Often we can still tweak it to move towards this, more towards this Mediterranean diet. It works if you don't know how to cook. And if there's certain foods that like you really just don't eat, it's adaptable. We can think of this nutrition approach to being up here, and no matter where you are, you can improve towards meeting that goal. I always say stable moods start with stable blood sugar. And that is one piece that the modified Mediterranean diet can help with. So when done correctly, your diet can stabilize your blood sugar and prevent hypoglycemia. That's a situation where your blood sugar crashes out on you and can cause you to feel pretty anxious. It can nourish your nervous system. Your moods and your brain and your nervous system, like that's part of your body. What you eat, like we are what we eat. I feel like a little cliche right now, but like those things go in and become the building blocks. The fats you eat become the fat in your brain. The proteins you eat become your neurotransmitters. And so we can do things like reduce inflammation in the brain and nervous system. We can support optimal neurotransmitter functions by just making sure that you have all the building blocks you need to make neurotransmitters. We can avoid nutritional deficiencies that contribute to anxiety, iron deficiency, magnesium deficiency, B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency. These things can be addressed. And we can also increase the efficacy of psychotropic medications. And so more and more research is coming out trying to understand who are responders, who are non-responders when we give drug therapy. And some of the things that they're looking at are what's someone's omega-3 content in their blood. And we're learning that someone who is in a better biologic state in terms of having the nutrients that they need from their nervous system, those are the same people that are getting more benefit from their medications. And so this is a really complementary approach. So I want to tell you about Stephen. So Stephen came to see me. He was having anxiety. He never had anxiety before in his life. And he was a little bit pissed off that this had shown up at this point, to be honest. And he was having anxiety in the afternoons, and it was really affecting. And Stephen's job, he was in sales. He had a lot of meetings. He needed to be meeting clients. Being like anxious, sweaty during his meetings and his client interactions, this was not an experience that he had had before. And this was not one that could continue. Like this was really not working for him. And I would say that's true of most people with anxiety. But if you've never had anxiety before and then it shows up, you're like, what is this? And that was kind of Stephen's vibe. Like, what is happening here? And so as part of his assessment, we were doing some screening tests, and we found that Stephen's blood sugar was in the what we call pre-diabetic range. And so, at risk of diabetes range. I can't remember. And remember, this is like a compilation of people. So this has happened multiple times where someone, just like Stephen, has had their blood sugar in a range that's like higher than we want to see it. And so when we see that pre-diabetes or that at risk of diabetes, like Stephen's blood sugar was, that was really contributing to his anxiety. And we really changed how he was eating, particularly in the first part of the day, really amped up the protein in his breakfast, changed what his lunch looked like, make sure he ate lunch every day. And his anxiety was gone. All of a sudden, he wasn't having these like crazy physical symptoms that are then causing him to like get in his head in the middle of his work meetings after lunch, that after lunch crash. He was feeling great. And, I think this is a great example of how sometimes all of the health goals are all aligned, because those blood sugars left unchecked. Yes, it was causing the anxiety, but also that's a long-term risk factor that could turn into diabetes. That could lead to like increased risks of heart attack, stroke. And so these are the kind of things we want to uncover. And I think I like talking about this example because this is where the anxiety is a whisper of something going on in your body, is saying, this isn't right. And Stephen knew it wasn't right. He was like, this isn't how my body responds to client meetings. Something has changed. And so that's something that we like to do, is like get to the bottom of why this has changed, and how just changing your diet can be, for some people, enough to really manage their anxiety. So I'm going to cover this like plan for anxiety freedom. 1, own your superpowers. Really start framing this as like, this is information from my body and it has skills associated with it. And start directing those skills, that anxious energy, that like ability to forecast into the future, towards forecasting what you actually want, towards being creative, towards thinking about positive scenarios in rich detail. Step 2, create a radical self-care plan of things you absolutely love to do. No more, I'm doing yoga because Susie did yoga and it took away her anxiety. If you love to do yoga like I do, absolutely. Carve out time for that. You deserve it. But if there's something else that sets your soul on fire, let's find time for it. Transform your fear into excitement. This is back to the breath. When we're noticing that fear is coming in, focusing on how do we bring in some oxygen to this to turn it into excitement. Build confidence by tackling scary things in small pieces. You don't have to do it all at once, but we need to like build up that muscle and that confidence by actually the doing part. And adopting a modified Mediterranean diet to nourish your system. The last piece of advice that I have for overcoming anxiety is to not do it alone. It's really easy when you're on your own to get stuck in your head and to not notice when you're replaying patterns that aren't true. Every person that I know that has successfully healed from their anxiety has worked with an expert that helped them create their own action plan. They were willing to invest in themselves and not like put this on the back burner, like I'll deal with my anxiety later, maybe if I feel like it or if it gets worse. And they, you know what they all did? They're so brave. They overcome their fear of trying something new and actually take action. And I really feel like this is the hardest thing with people with anxiety, because anxiety makes you fearful of new things. But then the only way you can get better from anxiety is to try new things. And so I really feel for like the bravery it is to get started on this kind of path, but I do think it's essential. So your success in healing from anxiety is all about the amount of support you get. More information is not the answer. I could talk all day, and if none of that is tailored to you or crafted into your own plan, it's not going to help you. And especially if you're not able to then take action on that information. I know we go into research mode as like an anxious crew. We're like, let me find out all the details on this. And that can be paralyzing. It's really important to like get the information you need and then stop and make a decision. So you have a choice now. You can take what you heard from this webinar. Maybe there is one piece of information that like stuck out for you that you feel like, oh, I can really implement that. So you can take that and move forward. Or you can ask, what would it look like to really change my anxiety? What would it take? And so I want to introduce you to my anxiety program. Tranquil Minds is a 6-week lifestyle program designed to teach you the skills that you need to create calm in your life and coach you through actually making these changes. And so this program is an individualized assessment to figure out like where you're starting from, a 6-week step-by-step plan so you can build your customized care plan together, and individualized testing and support included to help you with the recommendations. Now, traditionally in my practice, I have offered this one-on-one working with me, but we have something, our little graphic, a friendly group of people. We have something new that we're trying, which is the Tranquil Minds Collective. And this is the core Tranquil Minds program delivered in a 6-week group program for anxiety. Groups in healthcare have really been shown to create like really supportive environments. And this is really, I would say, quite cutting edge. I think we're really revolutionizing what mental health can look like when we start looking at when we bring the power of bringing people together in the same space to tackle the same problems, because it means that you're not just getting my perspective or my brain on it, you're actually getting the ability to learn from each other. And so in this group, we're going to learn skills to lower anxiety inside this community. Our meeting dates, I've thrown them up on the slide if that matters to you, but we're going to meet every Monday night. And we're going to run through the same content of the Tranquil Minds program, plus have that group experience and group healing. So we're going to cover nutrition, sleep, mindfulness, exercise, connection. We're going to talk about how you can be empowered in your decision making. We're going to teach techniques to like relieve anxiety in the moment. We're going to practice them every week so you get better at them. And we're going to just like have this encouraging team that's going to help you learn to like achieve and then also maintain your calm. And so typically, if you were to work through Tranquil Minds with me one-on-one, the cost is around $1,400. But we're really excited to be able to offer the Tranquil Minds Collective at a reduced rate because you're participating in a group environment. The visits are much less expensive. And so you can move through the entire program for $700. And that is for new patients. If you are an existing patient, you can actually move through this program for less than $500. And so if this is something that you are interested in, I'm going to be sharing the details on how to sign up. But I want you to think about, like, if you're on the fence, like, what would it be like to move throughout your day without all of those invasive worrying thoughts? What would it be like to feel like, oh, I'm myself and I'm present when I'm with my kids, when I'm with my partner? If you are feeling ready to join the Tranquil Minds Collective, or you have some questions about it, the next step is to book a complimentary naturopathic strategy session. This is a time for you and I to get to chat. I can answer any of your questions. I'll make sure that you're a good fit for the group, that this is the right next step for you. And then if we agree that this is the next move, we'll get you signed up for those appointment slots. We do have limited capacity inside of our group. And so we are filling it up on a first come, first serve basis. So if you think that this is going to be a good fit for you, I'd really love to hear from you. Also, thank you for joining us. I know I promised everybody that came live a free gift, and I have a copy of my Create Calm audiobook headed to your email. So check out your inbox. That should be there by tomorrow. And thanks so much for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you inside the collective.
Mhm.